So this is probably my favorite story about my cheating ex. As many stories as I have on him, this one happened after we were broken up. He had left me for a girl that he was seeing on the side, and we hadn't spoken in months. We had both blocked each other on pretty much everything. But as most girls do, I do have my fake Instagram account, and he seemed pretty happy in his new relationship. I believed that until I got a DM from a girl. She sent me screenshots of messages and fake accounts that he had made to communicate to her. So he had literally been cheating on the girl that he was with now with her the whole time. I literally don't understand people sometimes. Both him and I were in the same friend group, mostly because we pretty much grew up together. So I talked to another member of the group about what we should do. Now, I believe in karma and that people get what they deserve, but who's to say that I'm not karma? So we decided to show up to his house with not only the girl he was cheating with, but all the girls he cheated on me with. And take care of this, I kid you not, game show style. Follow, share, interact, and I'll do a part. The thing that shocks me the most about men is the audacity. I don't know what the comments are going to be yet, but I want to clarify: 1, that him and I were best friends for a long time before dating, so that's why we had the same friend group. 2, kind of bold to show up at someone's house, kind of also bold to cheat on someone, but we were neighbors. So we went in, microphone in hand, and announced each girl one by one. He was speechless. Like, he didn't even know what to say. If you've ever just seen someone like entangled in so many lies that he thinks that he's never gonna get caught for, all of a sudden get caught for all of them, that was it. When his friend went in, he was like, hey, do you have something you want to share with me? Like, what's been going on in your relationship? He admitted to nothing. So that's why we announced girl number 1, girl number 2, girl number 3, until we were all there and he had no choice but to tell us the truth. So yeah, don't be a scumbag, don't cheat. And if you do, karma will happen eventually, even if it's years down the line. So this is the story about a time I dated a sociopath. I went to a friend of mine's birthday party and met this guy. He was really cute, we made great conversation, and he also had a job at a really well-known store. However, I was flirting with his friend a lot more, which I think actually is what attracted him to me. With each bar we went to, he kept trying to get closer and closer to me, and by the end of the night, he asked for my number. I said sure, and a few days later, he called me and asked me out on a date. We decided to go for a hike, and this is where the weird interactions start. He brought up the fact that I'm going into counseling, and that's what attracted him to me because he feels like no one can figure him out. He talked about how sales is the best job for him because he can always temporarily put on masks for people and be whatever a person wants him to be. But it only lasts for so long. He could never keep a relationship for more than 3 months. He said he couldn't keep up the act of what the other girls wanted him to be. Not long after this, I got a call from his cousin who I'd never spoken to before telling me to get out. Follow, share, and I'll do a part 2. Alright, this is part 2 to the sociopath story. So that was extremely sus of a cousin to be calling whenever I hadn't even met him before. He expressed that this was a pattern for him. To find girls, date them for a while, infiltrate their life, and then leave them and have no guilt. He also expressed on multiple occasions that he's never felt heartbreak before, even though he's had multiple breakups. The girl that he was with before me had multiple kids. He came into her life, pretended to be a dad figure for a little bit, and then left her. I didn't know that story till later, but I was horrified. I continued to go on a few more dates with him, and he told me everything I wanted to hear. He would talk about spending holidays, meeting my family, potentially buying a house for us, and I just got sucked right into it like probably everyone else was. Then a few hours after we had a really good date, he called to say he was confused if this was the right timing for us or not. I just kind of accepted it and was like, okay. However, a day later, he started dating my best friend's little sister, who was freshly out of high school, and this man's 27. And that's just what he does. He just gets off to the heartbreak because he emotionally can't understand it. Follow from our story times.
Everybody, so it is currently Saturday that I am filming this video, which I am late filming once again, so this probably will not be posted until around 9 o'clock. Love that for me. How was everybody's Valentine's Day? I had a good Valentine's Day. I got woken up with chocolate strawberries and flowers and my favorite Starbucks drink, and then later on while I was getting ready, I got surprised with chocolate covered pretzels and more flowers, and then I went out to dinner. Dinner was kind of crap though. They literally ran out of everything even though we had a reservation. That was kind of annoying. But other than that, my Valentine's Day was very good. Alright, so I am going to bring you guys up close. Here we go. Okay, so before I start this story time, a quick little rundown that I usually do. Most of these story times are sent in by an anonymous person. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. And I do tell these story times in a first person point of view. If you don't like that, then you can exit out this video. But without further ado, let's get into today's story time. Okay, so story time about how I got caught sneaking out of my house. So a little background information, I was 15 years old and a freshman in high school, and this happened about a month or so before school ended. I honestly had a pretty normal life before this happened. There was nothing exciting or crazy going on, no drama or anything like that, except there was this one junior that I had a huge crush on, and we're going to call him Kevin. Kevin was known for going after freshmen. I mean, we all know that one guy, but I thought he was really interested in me. Why? Because I was stupid. Yeah. Well, with that being said, I was never really allowed to see Kevin because my mom was extremely strict since she had my sister whenever she was 17. I was never really allowed to see him outside of school unless like we were in a big group of people or my mom just didn't know that he was going to be there, or any guy for that matter. So like I said, she had my sister whenever she was 17, so she would never let us go out with boys, be out after dark. She was just super protective. Like, we weren't even allowed to sleep over at our friends for a whole weekend. We were only allowed to sleep over one day out of the week at a friend's house. I felt like I was living in a prison, which I pretty much was, but you know. On the other hand, my dad didn't really care what my sister and I did as long as we weren't like, you know, doing meth on the curb. He didn't care, but he would always agree with my mom because, as he always says, happy wife, happy life. So whatever my mom said kind of, you know, was the overall decision. The worst part was I wasn't even the one that my mom needed to be worried about. My older sister was way worse than I was. And she didn't even care whenever she would get in trouble. So it was like, I don't know, maybe they just didn't want me to be like her. Well, with that being said, Kevin invited me to a party that he was throwing. And of course I knew that I could not tell my mom, or else I would probably be grounded for even asking her if I could go to a freaking party. So what did I decide to do? I decided that for the first time in my pubescent life, I would be a little bit rebellious and sneak out to go to this party. So I invite my friend Anna over and I tell her about the whole plan. And the plan was I was going to sneak out of my house whenever my parents were asleep. That's kind of like the most classic thing you could do when you're sneaking out. I may or may not have looked up a few YouTube videos on how to sneak out, but you know. Anyway, so my bedroom was right above the garage roof, so I decided that I would climb out my window, jump onto the roof, and then jump down, and we would run over to an Uber that was parked at my neighbor's house, because sadly I could not drive. The plan was honestly just like perfect. So Wednesday, I decided that I need to find something to wear because the party was on Friday. I really never been to a high school party before, but I also wanted to make sure that this outfit would be hot enough to get the attention of Kevin. Well, eventually I find something that I think will work, but of course, as I am trying it on, who barges in my room without knocking? My mother. I literally had no privacy in that house and it was ridiculous. And I literally don't have a top on, no bra or anything. I'm trying on this mini skirt. Anyways, so she comes in my room and she gives me this like stank look. And she was like, where do you think you're going in that skirt? And then she says, better yet, who are you trying to let in that skirt? And I was like, what the fuck? First of all, yeah, that's how my mom was. She always thought that my sisters and I were doing something, having sex, doing drugs. She always thought the worst of us. Love that. Again with the snoring, my dog literally does not stop snoring. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Anyway, so my response was I was trying it on because Anna said that if I grew out of it, she might want it. So then she rolls her eyes and she's like, well, it doesn't fit, so I think you can give it to Anna. Like, girl, shut up. Nobody asked your opinion in the first place. Go do my laundry or something, period. That sounded a little fucked up, but still. So at that point, I start second guessing my whole entire plan. Like one time my older sister got caught smoking pot and my mom put her in some weird summer camp for kids with behavioral issues. Like what the fuck? She also sold my sister's car and got her a bus pass. So I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely nervous. I had to do my eyeliner off camera because I knew it was gonna be a fail if I did it on camera. So anyways, back to the story. So Friday night comes around. I'm super excited, texting Kevin. He's texting me about how excited he is. Anna got a ride to my house after school, and we spent most of the day doing random shit. Like we went swimming for a little bit, we watched a few movies, and Anna had went to a few parties before this, but her parents were kind of strict like mine. She just had the balls to sneak out 24/7 and everything like that. So yeah. Then at 10:30, we decided to finally get ready for this party. We did our makeup, got dressed, but we had pajamas on over our party outfits just because in case my mom barged in like she usually does, we would be prepared. So around 11 o'clock, my parents turned off all the lights and we called the Uber to my neighbor's address. And as we are climbing out my window, we hear a bunch of noises sounding like another window opening, so we stop dead in our tracks. And then all of a sudden, I see that it is my sister and her two best friends who were sleeping over. So she looks at me and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And then I look at her like, what the fuck are you doing? Because neither of us were supposed to be sneaking out. So don't ask me what I'm doing so you can go and rat to our mom about this. So it turns out that her and I were going to the same party and they were sneaking out at the same time because they saw mine and Anna's Uber pull up at our neighbor's and they thought that it was theirs. So they ended up just canceling their Uber and riding with us. Because if she would have even tried to sneak back into the house, like if she would have made a creak, my mom would have heard it and it wouldn't have been pretty. She probably would have went back to behavioral kids camp. So we all get into Anna's Uber and head to the party. And I'm not gonna lie, this was the first time that my sister and I had actually like hung out. My mom wouldn't really let me hang out with her anyways because she would have always considered the bad kid and I was always considered the goody two-shoes. Well, once we got to the party, I found Kevin. He got me a drink, we started talking. And then he said he wanted us to have some alone time. So what did we do? We went out on the balcony. I thought this kid was going to try and make a move on me, but he didn't. He was literally like a little puss. So I decided that I was going to be the first one to make the move. So as soon as I'm about to kiss him, I hear somebody yell, "Cops are here!" Girl, the one night I decided to sneak out. The one night. This was not in any of the YouTube videos I watched on how to sneak out. So at this point, I am in a full panic mode. All I see is Anna and a bunch of other kids running. So I decide to jump off of a 10-foot, maybe 12-foot up balcony. As we're running through the woods, I see lights flashing behind us, and I hear kids getting grabbed by cops and more sirens. It was just a shit show. And all I can think about is the fact that my mom is going to murder me if I get caught. So I decide to text my sister and ask where the hell she is, because she was hooking up with some guy who parents own the house that the party was at. And she goes, "I'm hiding in the attic. Where are you?" Now, as soon as I was about to answer that text, I definitely shouldn't have been texting and running while the cops were running after us, because eventually I slipped and fell into this little creek and I cut my hand really bad on a rock. Love that for me. So while I'm like pretty much bleeding out, I'm also trying to calm Anna down because Anna cannot handle blood. So she's like about to pass out, you know. Well, once we got to the road, I realized I was covered in fucking blood all over me, all over my face. So we decided to call an ambulance, and we thought that, you know, oh, it's okay if we call an ambulance, we can just give them fake names. That's not what happened. You can't just give an ambulance a fake name, I found out, and you can't just give, like, you know, the doctors a fake name. So once the ambulance showed up, I went into shock from how much blood I was losing, and probably because I was also watching all the blood come out. And then I woke up in the hospital a little bit later. Anna was not there, but my angry ass mother was sitting in the chair next to me, and my sister was staring at me smiling because she didn't get caught. She happened to make it home in time, which I don't even know how. I really don't know how, because I could have swore that it only took us like 20 minutes to run to the street and then get to the hospital. I don't know. My mom never found out about my sister, but I was grounded for 2 months and had to wait to drive till I was 17. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys have ever snuck out, let me know down below in the comments. Did you get caught? Did you get away with it? And if you want to share your story, maybe click the link down below in the description to share your story time. But if you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of me, maybe hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want to know when I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. But other than that, I will see you guys next Saturday. February 12th, Saturday. I should have had this video made and uploaded like 4 hours ago, but here we are. Today's look is going to be like a little Valentine's Day kind of look, you know. But before we start, I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so a few things before we start. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view. So if you don't like that, you can exit out of this video. And most of these story times are sent in by an anonymous person. Okay, did I just do my eyebrows off camera? Yes, I did. I know I've been able to do them on camera lately, but it's not gonna work, so let's get into it. Okay, story time about how my dad found out that I was a stripper. We love that for us, don't we? Wrong, we don't. So a little background information. I was a junior in college and I was 21 years old. And I go to a very expensive college. Actually, really expensive college. Not gonna lie, the only reason why I got to go to this college was because I got a scholarship, a very good scholarship. Now, being that I am going to such a good college, I feel like I have a lot to prove to everybody. Because I was always the straight A student and, you know, I was kind of held to very high standards because my brothers really never did anything with their lives, of course. So everything was put onto me. Well, with that being said, the little coffee shop job I had just was not cutting it anymore. Every time I would go out, I would find myself spending what felt like a ton of money, but in reality, $40 isn't a lot. I was just broke. But then I got what felt like the opportunity of a lifetime. We're gonna call this person my, quote, guardian angel, okay? Because this person saved me from a shit ton of debt and my future. So me and a couple of my friends were walking the one night to a local bar that we usually go to, and we run into this group of people. And that's where I met my, quote, guardian angel. Well, her and I really hit it off that night, and I pretty much told her about everything that was going on, including about how my life was really shit growing up. My parents were super strict, especially my dad. And then I told her that I was actually super broke and really had no money. She looked really surprised at first, as does everybody when I tell them this, because I carry myself a certain way. Like, this girl really thought that I was a trust fund baby or something. Sadly, I was not. And then she said to me, oh, well, can you dance? Now, I had took a few ballet classes when I was younger, so I'm like, yeah, I can freaking dance, you know, like, and she's like, no, I mean, do you know how to shake your ass? I was a little taken back, you know. I was like, I mean, yeah, like, I guess so. And then she's like, okay, well, you have a job. So at first, I am extremely skeptical. At first, I thought she was gonna tell me that she's a prostitute and that I was gonna be a prostitute also. But then she was telling me how she was a stripper. That kind of eased my, you know, how I was feeling a little bit. She also said that she makes more than enough money for all of her car payments, her rent, everything like that. And she was even able to take her and her boyfriend on a 2-month trip to Greece the year before. Girl. So at this point, I am way more interested than I was before. But I also had a strict ass dad, and I really had to think on this. Do I shake my ass for some money? And if I do, will my dad disown me? Probably. But yeah. But anyways, I decided to give it a shot and I started working at the strip club. But honestly, it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. For the next 6 months, I was making literally bank from working at the strip club. Now, obviously, you know, I had bad nights and everything like that, but still, it couldn't compare to working at that shitty ass little coffee shop. And you know what? I actually eventually started to enjoy working there way more than I thought I would. Well, my 22nd birthday rolls around, and this is around when I thought my life was over pretty much. Yeah, we'll just say that. So this is whenever my strict ass family thought that they would come to my college and surprise me for my birthday. How sweet of them. I'm joking. It's actually fucking annoying. So it was my dad, my 2 brothers, and my mother, of course. So here's the issue. They came down a day early to surprise me, I guess. And boy, did I get a surprise. The hotel they were staying at was right across from the club. But you know what? Not too bad, you know. Not like my strict God-worshipping father was literally staying right across from where I worked. Well, the night before my birthday, I'm at the club. I'm about halfway done with my shift. In the middle of dancing all over a fucking pool, trying to make money. I have to fake an injury. Why do I have to fake an injury? Only because, you know, I look up and I see my father. Yeah, definitely not one of my best moments. So at this point, I literally want to run off the stage and just go curl up in a corner and die. But I think of a more realistic thing to do. Fake an injury. I start limping off the stage. Once I get off the stage, I tell Sadie that I need to go home. I'm not feeling my best. I really need to leave now. Well, you know, I thought she would be understanding, but she said, fine, after your walkthrough. Now, if you don't know what a walkthrough is whenever you pretty much go on the floor and you flirt with guys, you know, kind of just talk to them and stuff, just something like that. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm not a stripper, so forgive me if I say something wrong. Correct me down in the comments if you feel the need to. So at this point, I knew it was pretty much over. I really did need this job, so I wasn't about to just walk out. And I kid you not, once in the main room, it took them 20 seconds to realize that it was me walking around. And when they saw me, they just left. Like, they ran out of the place. They did not want to be there. And I was like, okay, like, what the fuck? I really thought I was in a dream because in reality, I thought my dad would have dragged me out of there and beat my ass and left me on the curb. But that's not what happened at all. So I'm kind of shook. Well, then the next day, I wake up to a knock on my door. And I definitely did not think it was my dad because I thought that he would never want to see me again. You know, his image of his perfect little angel was ruined. But of course, it was my whole family. They walked in, they gave me hugs, they wished me a happy birthday. Super sweet. The weird part was my dad and brothers were acting normal the whole entire time. Like, nothing ever happened. They didn't see anything, you know? They didn't walk in on me shaking some ass. So at that point, I was kind of thinking that I had a dream that it happened and it didn't really happen. I was starting to question myself. But also, I was kind of annoyed because my dad really hadn't said a word to me the whole entire time. So while we were sitting at my kitchen table, I decided to kind of make things more awkward because my mom had told me that they all got there last night. So I asked my dad, I was like, so what did you guys do last night? Yeah, I was that person. I was kind of annoyed because none of them would even look me in the eye. My mom answered the question for them. So eventually I waited until my mom left the room so that way I could approach the situation. But before I even said a word, my dad pulled out an envelope that had $2,500 in it. And he was like, here, this is for school and let's just forget about last night. He also ended up apologizing because he said that he didn't know how hard I was working to pay for school. But he was also really proud of me for trying to do it by myself. I was like, okay. Period. But then after that sweet moment, he was like, so, you're still planning on getting a job after school, right? Like, you know, you're not, this isn't a lifetime thing. And I was like, you know, so like, way to ruin a good moment, you know. But still, he was very accepting, so I have to be appreciative of that, you know. And on the other hand, my mother actually took it worse than he did. she was telling me about how all her other friends' daughters, you know, they work here instead of doing what I do, you know. She pretty much called me a whore every time she got the chance, so, you know, we love that for me. I mean, my dad would low-key put her in her place sometimes, but like, it was ridiculous. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to know when I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. Also, if you would like to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the link down below in the description. Love you guys.